Good morning, everyone. The Committee on Budget, please come to order. This morning, we'd like to welcome with us, joining us in the chamber, we have Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto, Committee members, Council members Kia Āina, Talba, Council Chair Waters, and also Council Vice Chair Tupola. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in-person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways: in person in the council chamber, and remotely via video conference or phone. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-13 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either languages. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When your name is called, please come up to the testifier podium. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to testify following the registered testifiers. After in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to remote testimony via video conference or phone. When I call your name, please monitor your screen and follow the prompt to unmute. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 if you wish to testify, and I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, please listen for the prompt to unmute and press *6. Some friendly reminders and tips: video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are also watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Agenda item number 1 for action, Resolution 25-208, authorizing a transfer of up to $400,000 in general fund monies from the patrol activity current expense character of expenditure to the patrol activity equipment character of expenditure for fiscal year 2026 to enable the Honolulu Police Department to purchase essential equipment for use by community policing teams. With us, I believe we have from the department, Major Elgin Arquero from District 5. Did I get close to your name, Major?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's Elgin Arquero. And for the record, I'm an HPD major assigned to District 5, Kalihi. The HPD is requesting to move funds, $400,000 in Resol 25208. The $400,000 is listed in Ordinance 25-38, and it's to support CPT activities. I'm available for questions if needed.
Thank you, Major Arquero. Did we have any questions for our major? Yes, Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto.
Thank you. Just one quick question. So the $400,000 you want to transfer, this is because of the proviso that was in the budget this year?
Yes, it's to comply in the ordinance, yes.
Okay, so...
Well, no, we want to move the funds from current expense to equipment in order to support our CPT operations.
Is this to match the proviso that was in the budget this year for $400,000 for current expenses to expand and train community policing teams?
Yes, the ordinance is an unfunded proviso, so we deferred a lot of our priority items to comply with this ordinance, with the proviso.
And to comply with it, You guys are buying 7 vans and 1 truck, correct?
Yes, police vehicles, which,
And that's to expand the police, the community police training team.
our CPT teams have been requesting for support vehicles for the past fiscal years, but the priority for the department are police vehicles. So it's been set aside. So the proviso is we're going to utilize that to get these support vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto. Members, any further questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you. Aloha, thank you for being here. Real quick, is that going to be for all CPT, or what district are you going to use it in?
It's going to be for all 8 districts,
Okay.
Councilmember.
And then specifically, it's going to be used to transport.
The CPT teams do a variety of community events. So it's to transport equipment
Equipment, okay.
and personnel and for Keiki IDs, for Kupuna IDs, for a lot of the community engagements that our CPT personnel do.
Okay, that's good. We have like a little trailer in D8 that we use to pack in everything for parades and everything. I think they could use something better, so.
District 8 was an exception. They needed a truck for their CPT operations.
Yes.
So
We have to help them transport a lot. I mean, they're great. We love CPT officers, but it would be nice if they had stuff. Also, question in regards to, I guess, the other vehicles. I know you guys are adding this. Maybe it's going to go to JMTC, and this is not in regards to this reso. Are all working vehicles out of the Joint Motor Traffic Center and out into the field, or are some still being acclimated?
which vehicles are you asking about, Councilman?
So we had gotten an influx of vehicles that HPD bought, and I think they were trying to, like, I guess, retrofit them or do, you know, whatever they need to do. I just wanted to make sure that whatever we do have that's working is being used.
I would have to defer to VMS, Vehicle Maintenance Section,
Okay.
to answer that
I'll
question.
talk to them about it, because, you know, we don't want to be duplicative, and I'm sure you guys aren't being, but I want to make sure whatever we do have that's working is out in the field being used. So thank you very much for caring for the CPT teams. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Members, any further questions? I just had a quick question, Major, and this is for vehicles. So what are the, and I'm also thankful for the CPT members that are in my district. Currently, what are they using right now before we get these vehicles that the money is being appropriated for, allocated for?
That's a great question. The CPT van that we use today, we purchased through asset forfeiture funds, and it's over 10 years old. So,
And there's one.
well, for District, I can answer for District 5. I'm not sure what the other patrol districts are using.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Members, any further questions? Okay, seeing no further questions for the Major, we will now proceed with in-person testifiers. Clerks, do we have any registered or non-registered in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have Donald Sakamoto.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Please proceed.
Yeah, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Budget Committee. Donald Sakamoto, longtime Kaneohe resident, also Kaneohe neighborhood Terry, by speaking on my behalf. I support this bill for the police department to have this money allocated, because District 4 in Kaneohe and Windward side, we need some kind of vehicles. So I support this fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Seeing no questions, do we have any further remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, seeing no further testimony, members, we are in discussion. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-208 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 2, Resolution 25-217, accepting a gift of up to $4,500 to the city from the Association of Local Government Auditors for travel and related expenses for one staff member from the Office of the City Auditor to travel to Seattle, Washington from October 5th through October 10th, 2025 to conduct a peer review. And with us today, I believe we have Acting City Auditor, Mr. Troy Shimasaki. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Okimoto and members of the committee. Troy Shimasaki, Office of the City Auditor. Our office is in support of this resolution. This would allow a staff member to conduct a peer review of the City of Seattle's Office of Inspector General for Public Safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shimasaki. Members, if we have any questions for our Acting City Auditor? Seeing none, thank you very much. We will now proceed with in-person testifiers. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers, registered or non-registered?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testifiers. Do we have any remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have Donald Sakamoto.
Aloha, good morning again, Mr. Sakamoto. Mr. Sakamoto, I think you have your microphone on mute.
Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, it's very hard on the phone. Anyway, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, budget, I support this resolution. Troy, nice to hear your voice again, and I fully support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Members, if we have any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you. Seeing no further remote testimony, members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-217 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Agenda item number 3, Resolution 25-231, authorizing a transfer not to exceed $50,000 in highway fund monies within the Department of Transportation Services Transportation Technology Activity, current expenses character of expenditure to the Department of Transportation Services Transportation Technology Activity, equipment character of expenditure for fiscal year 2026 to cover receivables created in fiscal years 2016 through 2022 where no capital improvement program grant funds actually existed. And with us this morning, we have Deputy Director of the Department of Transportation Services, John Noichi. Good morning, Deputy Director.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Committee. John Nouchi, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation Services, testifying in support of this resol. This resol will allow us to repay back. It's kind of an internal repayment for expected federal funding that did not materialize. And in that amount, we're just transferring things from so that we can kind of repay the books on the city's behalf.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Members, if we have any questions for Deputy Director Nouchi? Okay, seeing none, we'd like to welcome to the chamber with us Councilmember Tyler de Santos-Tam. Thank you for being here. Okay, seeing no further questions, we'll now proceed with in-person testifiers. Clerks, do we have any registered in-person testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have Kim West.
Okay, I'd like to welcome Ms. West to the microphone. Yes. Kim West, yes. Aloha, good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam.
Excuse me, and I am not speaking well, and I try the best I can. And my name is Kim West, K-I-M-W-E-S-T. I have a problem with the code, and Actually, and landlord and me was a problem. And landlord said, I did not pay, but I do pay. I have everything prove it I did pay. And she doesn't have not even one thing to prove it I do not pay. So what she said, she have a lawyer, and I don't have any lawyer. I'm looking for legal aid help, and they won't give me help. And so far, and she went on November 1st. And November 1st, George asked, when you know Kim? And she say, I know her 2018. I said, I was not in Hawaii 2018.
Thank you, Ms. West. Ms. West, just to clarify, we are on Resolution 25-231 relating to a transfer of funds within the Department of Transportation Services. That's what we're discussing and voting on right now. Is that the measure that you?
I mean, the court don't give me in court day. Even court say you pay the $155.
Okay.
I pay $155. Court don't give me court day.
Maybe if you could state to us which district or which area of the island you live on, we can connect you with your council member's office and get you the assistance that you might need.
I did it over 300 places 1 year. I go everywhere except this place. So today I come and I tell in my story. And they fight their way. I'm blind, I'm a senior, I do not speak English well. They
Okay.
put me in a call.
Well,
they
Ms.
do
West,
their way.
we will have our office personnel come in and talk to you and get your information so we can direct you to the correct office and get the assistance that you need. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, I bring all the papers to prove it. So please help
Okay,
me.
Councilmember āina, yes.
Thank you,
please.
Chair. Ms. West, thank you so much for coming this morning. We're going to have a staff member talk to you about your issue, and we're going to connect you with the appropriate agency and the council member of your district.
Thank you, Councilmember āina. Thank you, Ms. West. Madam Clerk, do we have any other testifiers in person?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now to remote testifiers. Do we have any remote registered or non-registered testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have Donald Sakamoto.
Aloha, good morning, Mr. Sakamoto. Please unmute and proceed.
Yes, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, other members of the committee. Donald Sakamoto again. I support this resolution fully. We need the transportation to have the appropriate funds. Nice to hear Deputy Director John Nucci again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Members, did we have any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, are there any other remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-231 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 4, Resolution 25-233, authorizing a transfer not to exceed $42,630.94 in highway fund monies from the Department of Transportation Services, Transportation Performance and Development Activity, current expenses character of expenditure, to the Department of Transportation Services, Transportation Performance and Development Activity, equipment character of expenditure for fiscal year 2026 to furnish and deliver a passenger vehicle. And with this again, we have Deputy Director of DTS, John Nouchi.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, committee. Yes, testifying in support. DTS testifies in support of this reso. What this will do is move funding so that we can acquire a passenger vehicle, which does enable our Transportation Performance and Development Division do their work that actually results in studies that do fruit other things for our transportation engineers and the safety and other improvements that this council would like to see on our city streets.
Thank you, Mr. Nouchi. Members, do we have any questions for Deputy Director? Seeing none, We'll now proceed with in-person testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered or non-registered in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. And I'll proceed with remote testifiers. Is there anyone here who wishes to testify remotely?
Yes, Chair, Donald Sakamoto.
Aloha, good morning, Mr. Sakamoto.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and other members of the committee. Donald Sakamoto for the record. I fully support this resolution for the Department of Transportation. And thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, we'll now move on to discussion. Members, any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-233 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 5, Bill 41, 2025, repealing certain outdated, obsolete, or unnecessary provisions relating to waivers of permit fees for businesses that create new jobs. Members, we have a proposed posted CD1 OCS 2025-057-7/23/2025 at 9:46 a.m. submitted by Councilmember dos Santos-Tam. For your information, the amendments are listed on the agenda. And Councilmember dos Santos-Tam, did you want to give any further explanation on the measure?
Yeah, thank you. The origin of Bill 41 comes from the earlier repeal of Chapter 35. There was one provision in a different part of ordinance that we couldn't take care of via that bill, so we have Bill 41. The specific proposed CD1 deals with a tiny discrepancy in DPP fees for grading large volumes of soil. With this, everything else should be copacetic, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember dos Santos-Tam. And with us, I believe we have from our Department of Planning and Permitting Director Don Takeuchi Apuna.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee, Don Apuna. We are very supportive of this measure, and we appreciate Councilmember dos Santos-Tam's latest amendment that just makes sure that the fees are properly allocated within each bracket. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Members, do we have any questions for our DPP Director? Seeing none, we'll now proceed with in-person testifiers. Do we have any in-person testifiers, registered or non-registered?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered or non-registered remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Great. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 41, 2025 be amended to the posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-7/23/2025 9:46 a.m. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? The bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 41, 2025, CD1 be reported out for passage on third reading. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 6, Bill 49, 2025, amending provisions relating to the real property tax home exemption. And with us today, I believe we have from our Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, Director Andy Kawano. Good morning, Director Kawano.
Good morning, Budget Chair, Honorable Council members, City Council Chair Waters, Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. With regard to Bill 49 relating to real property taxes and the increase of in the homeowners exemption for property owners in the residential class at 65 and over, we expressed concerns in our Department Communication 576. We stand by that communication. The increase will reduce estimated real property tax revenues by about $5.6 million. And as we suggested in that department communication, it would be, we believe, much better and I think, fiscally responsible if we do a permitted interaction group and look at all of the various active bills that impact real property taxes. Taking questions next.
Okay, thank you, Director Kawano. Members, if we have any questions for the director. Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we'll now proceed with in-person testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered or non-registered in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testifiers. Do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing no further testimony, members, we are in discussion. Chair Waters.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having a hearing on this bill. You know, cost of living in Hawaii continues to increase. This bill is, well, our cost of groceries, our cost of gas, our cost of electricity, but we don't have any control over that. What we do have control over is property taxes. You know, we recently passed a double-digit increase in our sewer bill. This would mitigate that. You know, I encourage BFS to explore ways to generate revenue, perhaps from outside investors. I think there's a bill currently that's still alive that would generate between 29 and 54 million a year. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Members, any further discussion? Councilmember Tolba.
Chair, reservations.
Okay, noting the reservations of Councilmember Tolba. Any further discussion? I'd just like to, again, thank Chair Waters for co-introducing this together. And I think our intentions have always been, as you stated, to see what we can do to help our local residents, because as you've made stated, and we are very well aware of, we want to make sure that we can help them. Right now, it's difficult, and everyone feels that to be able to make more than what they need to expend. And so making these policies like this is a reflection of the needs of our community. And Bill 49, as well as 50 that we're going to discuss next, provides some kind of common sense tax relief. And I'm hopeful that moving this measure forward, it will help ease these financial pressures and burdens to help our homeowners be able to stay here, especially with this measure when it deals with the fixed income of our kupuna. So thank you very much. Members, any further discussion? Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam.
Thank you, Chair. You know, I think what I'd like to see in addition to Bills 49 and Bill 50 is a larger discussion. These are obviously two important pieces, but I do think it's important to have an overall discussion, overall vision for how we can make our tax structure more fair, especially for the people at the lowest end. And I hope that we can have these conversations, whether that's through a PIG or through another vehicle, because it's so critical that we look at our overall tax policy for the city and county of Honolulu as part of this.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam. Members, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. The chair recommends that Bill 49, 2025 be reported out for passage on third reading. Noting the reservations of Councilmember Tolba, are there any further reservations? Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 7, Bill 50, 2025, amending provisions relating to the real property tax home exemption. And this was also introduced by Chair Waters and myself. Chair Waters, did you want to say anything else at this time? Okay. We have with us, again, from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, our Director, Andy Kawano.
Good morning, Budget Chair and Honorable Council members. Again, Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. BFS stands by Department Communications 575. The gist of our concerns are similar to what I just covered for Bill 49, and I'll take questions.
Members, any questions for the Director? Okay. Thank you, Director Kawano. Seeing no questions at this time, we'll now proceed with in-person testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testifiers. Do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, yes, we have 2.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Sakamoto. Please proceed.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, other members of the committee. Donald Sakamoto, longtime Kaneohe resident. I kind of support this bill, but in intent, I think there should be a PIG committee, and you should have people like myself, who is blind and a senior, to give input on this property tax and whatnot. So I would appreciate you folks would look into a PIG committee, like how Andy Kawano, Director Kawano said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. I also see online we have, I believe that's Angela Young. You can lower your raised hand and you can unmute Angela. Please state your name for the record also.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Oh, yes, I can't do that. That's a function of the executive office. So they have to unmute me. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so
Angela, we just lost you for a few seconds.
and not a burden in the society. So again, I also echo what everyone else is saying, is that I think there should be a PIG. So I'm wondering when that's going to be scheduled, because like I've been taking notes and there's been a lot of people, saying they want to schedule a PIG. So just wondering when that's going to be scheduled. Yeah.
Thank you, members. Thank you, members. If we have any questions for the testifier. Okay, seeing no questions. Madam Clerk, do we have any other remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing no further testimony, members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Tolba.
With reservations like in Bill 49, I hope, do you intend on doing a PIG, Chair? I hope that we can, maybe get to do a PIG to discuss further on how, the allocation of the 5 million in one bill. But like, are we planning on possibly doing a PIG?
This is what the discussion is for. So thank you for expressing your interest. And if the members want to opine on that as well, we can continue the discussion. But I'll note your reservations. Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 50, 2025 be reported out for passage on third reading. Any discussion? Noting the reservations of Councilmember Tolba, any further reservations? Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 8, Bill 34, 2024, addressing real property tax rates. Members, we have a proposed posted CD1 OCS 2025-0639/8/8/2025 at 1:56 p.m. submitted by Councilmember āina. For your information, the amendments are listed on the agenda. And at this time, I'd like to turn the time over to Councilmember āina if you'd like to discuss further your measure.
Thank you, Chair. First, for the members, because I know we're a little rusty on other not RPT bills that's not related to the homeowner's exemption. So let me just start with the underlying bill. Bill 34, 2024, was intended to have 3 tiers of classifications for real property taxes: for residential A, for bed and breakfast, and for transient vacation units. In further discussions with the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, I have since modified the measure. The measure currently retains the 3 tiers for residential A. It deletes the tiers for bed and breakfasts. And the reason for that, of course, is that many of these homes have a homeowner's exemptions. And it's actually only a small number of homes that are operating like this on Oahu. But I do retain the 3-tier classification for transient vacation units, but I modify the valuations. For residential A, it would be tier 1 is up to 1.3 million. The second is 1.3 to 3.5, and the third is 3.5 and above. And what I do for the transient vacation units is because the majority of them are apartment units, tiers are as follows. The first tier would be valuation up to 900. The second is 900 to 2 million, and the third is 3 million and above. And the reason, one of the reasons that I'm introducing this CD1 and asking for it to move forward is this. There are hundreds of homes, because the valuation is beyond $1 million, that unbeknownst to them, they are automatically classified as a residential A, which we all think is non-owner occupied. Not true. I am in the throes of working on legislation to modify the underlying elements that define residential A, because I believe it is unfair. I have constituents in my district who, unbeknownst to them, because the value of the home went above $1 million and they did not file the homeowner's exemption, they are paying a higher price. They take accountability for not having filed because they didn't know about it, and they're doing so. But in my view, they should have been charged at the residential rate because they still live in it. And so again, that is a different measure, but for this purpose, for homes that are valued up to 1.3, they will still be charged at a residential rate. And this is going to be helping hundreds of our constituents. I'm pretty sure if all of you outreach to your constituents, you will find a lot of people in your districts that are impacted. So that is the reason for this, and I just wanted, I felt that 2 tiers was insufficient because a lot of homes are valued at lots of money, and they should be paying a higher tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Floor Leader Kia āina. At this time, we'd like to welcome from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, Director Andy Kawano.
Good morning, Budget Chair Okimoto, honorable council members, Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. Yes, BFS has been working with Councilmember Kia āina on this introduced bill, going through the reading process. It's time to adjust the thresholds. What everyone has to understand is that the current $1 million threshold is key, in terms of a home going into residential A, because under $1 million, you're still paying residential rates. Once you go over the threshold and you don't have the home exemption, you go into Res A rates. So it's $4 tier 1 and $11.40 tier 2. So, and tier 1 is up to $1 million, and $1 million and over, you pay $11.40. So there's a significant impact for those unaware of that and get reclassified. So it's a good time to take a look at the thresholds, as Councilmember Kia āina mentioned.
Thank you, Director Kawano. Members, if you have any questions for the Director, I'll start with Council Vice Chair Tupola and then Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam.
Aloha, Director. Thank you for, speaking in support of this, and just we've had this discussion so many years prior. I'm glad we're actually going to do something, especially because valuations are out of our control. In regards to actually setting the rate for the new tiers, I know that in the past, we kind of set the tiers and then separately in a separate bill, we set the rates. Would that be how it goes for the TVU 3 tiers?
Yes, I believe so. And when the administration submits its budget, we typically propose rates, and we will look at what we have to do, with the mayor's approval to be revenue neutral. So what happens is when you raise the tiers, so when we go from $1 million to $1.3 million, And then we go to the third tier at 3.5 million and above. What will happen is the amount of tax keys in Res A will get substantially reduced. You know, we have 30,000 tax keys right now in Res A. By applying the new thresholds in the CD1, that count will go down to under 12,000 tax keys.
Yeah, that's significant. And I think also one thing that I learned over the years is that even if you do have over that amount, the first million is taxed at the tier, and then the second tier is, so say for example, you have a property that's like 1.6 million, right? The million and below is taxed at the $3.50, and then above it is the second tier tax rate. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. When you go into Res A, up to the first million, you're taxed at $4. So
not at the $3.50.
Yeah, you go from $3.50 to $4, and then the million and over, you pay $11.40 per thousand.
What a jump, Palm. That's a lot. Okay, so what you're saying is that once you're over the threshold, there is no deviation where you get the $3.50. You're already in the $4. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam.
Thank you, Chair. You know, as we change these thresholds on a regular basis, which I'm assuming we will, the last time the Res A rate was changed, I think, was in 2017, and then the TVUs is in 2023. At some point, we're going to have to update this again in the future. Where did the $800,000 threshold come from the last time around? And does that comport with the $900,000 now? That is, if the $800,000 threshold was, say, the median price, is $900 now the median price? I guess, where are these numbers coming from? Because in the future, we're going to have to change them again, and I'd like that to be a similar, thing, not just picking a number out of thin air.
It's the numbers are coming off of calculating the impacts of different scenarios. With regard to TVUs, the class is very small. We're talking about 1,800 tax keys, and we know that values have increased. We know that for TVUs, there's more of a weighting towards condos versus non-condo or single family. And we use some judgment as we ran scenarios. And at 900,000, there's not much of an impact. And there's a good possibility, depending on the amount of tax keys that we identify or gets reported in or applied for on October 1st of this year, we may not have to change the rates. Perhaps that third tier may go up to be revenue neutral, but there's a good possibility that the rate of $9 for the first tier and $11.50 for the second tier may not have to change. But third tier for higher valued TVUs may have to go up.
I guess my question is more about the underlying valuation, right? The $800,000 threshold, which becomes $900,000 threshold, or on the Res A side, $1 million versus 1.3. Do you have data that kind of shows where the median of all of those parcels is and how that comports with what those thresholds are? Because again, at some point in the future, we're going to have to change it, and I'd like it to track.
There's data, yeah, but I have to admit that judgment was involved. We can provide data if you wish, council member, with regard to the TVUs, because there's not that many, and we can provide a listing. But with regard to how we come up with the numbers, we use judgment, yeah, and then we run scenarios and we do calculations to validate the judgment.
I think it would be helpful to have this information because not only in the future we're going to change things, but let's suppose that when we set these thresholds back in 2017 for Res A, that 1 million back then was maybe the top, 20%. 1.3, I don't know if that's the top 20% anymore, given where the real estate market is. And so I'd like to be thoughtful about where we draw these lines and how we do it rather than just picking a number out of thin air. And again, that'll inform in the future when we have to change it again, how we draw that line.
We have our administrator here, Stephen Takara, who would like to chime in. He knows the details.
Hi, good morning, Budget Chair, Vice Chair, and Council Chair, and other council members. Just to chime in on if I can provide a little bit more texture or background to Res A. Some of the things we were talking about is the threshold, which is important, but there's other factors that comprise or define Res A, such as 2 units. There's the conversation of going 3 units. There's also the zoning, underlying zoning. Right now it's strictly residential, but there's talks and discussions about including preservation and country zoning as well. So that all plays into the equation, I think. That I just wanted to share that with you at this point, because as we move forward to discussing or modifying the residential area classification, I think those variables should be considered as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam. Okay, members, any further questions for the administration? Okay. Seeing none, we will now proceed with in-person testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have Suzanne Young.
Aloha, good morning, Ms. Young.
Good morning, Chair Okimoto and members of the council. Suzanne Young with the Honolulu Board of Realtors. We stand in support of Bill 34, the amendments to the thresholds, both for the residential A category and the TVUs. I think as has been discussed today, the thresholds haven't changed, but our property values have, and the median had. And I think if you look at the original intent of Res A, it was to hit the luxury high-end homes. And so unfortunately with the current thresholds, those are hitting everyday folks who have had homes for generations and whose property values have just increased, but by no means would be considered luxury. So this is necessary. And we stand in support and offer our assistance in anything that you would like.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Members, if we have any questions for the testifier, Councilmember āina.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your testimony and support, because I think we can all concur that this is an important issue for a lot of local families that have impacted. But I want to zero in on the current definition of residential A, because I believe that, I know it's something that many council members here have raised, and I didn't quite understand the impact until a constituent told me that they had been inadvertently charged residential A without them knowing it. They saw A next to it, but they didn't know what it meant. And so when I discussed what the requirements are for residential A, it said that number 1, it has to be zone residential, right? Number 2, which concerns me, it says you don't have a homeowner's exemption, which I believe a lot of people fall under, but they still live in it. And third, that the assessed value is 1 million or more. Of course, if this bill were enacted into law, it'd be 1.3. My question to you is, I think that the homeowner's exemption, there needs to be, it needs to be modified, because it's not fair for someone. This was intended for people who don't live, they have a second home. A lot of people live in their home and they just didn't realize it, because it's automatic. So I am looking to modify that definition to say they don't have a homeowner's exemption or the unit is not owner occupied. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the issue that you're raising is something that we're aware of. And what happens is you have a home that just keeps appreciating every year, but the homeowner doesn't actually realize that they have now shifted into the 1 million. So I don't know why, but there are owner occupants who have not filed the homeowner exemption. And so they do get caught up in that. And so I think we support a PIG or a task force or something, because I think issues related to filing of homeowner exemptions, the thresholds, there are so many things that could be discussed in there, including this discrepancy when there truly is someone who is a homeowner and has a property that is now being assessed at Res A. There's no appeal process or way to address them in a tax year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I just add, if I may, we recognize that this is an issue, as does RPAD, and so we are actually working in partnership with RPAD to do community events around the upcoming deadlines for dedications and homeowner exemptions. So we'll be letting you know those dates, but we'll be out at the farmers markets to help get the word out to the community.
Thank you, Councilmember āina. Members, any questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Hi, aloha, Suzanne. Thank you for being here. I did run into some of your members, and I appreciate the outreach that you guys are going to do. I had given them a suggestion that we possibly partner with Walmart and Sam's Club, as well as Foodland. Not anything against the farmers market, but I have more population in my district that walks through grocery stores. So kind of like how the girls, you know, go outside and they sell like the poi donuts and the Girl Scout cookies. I think that's probably where you're going to hit a big threshold, because I do agree that education, outreach, that's kind of what we're missing. So thank you for your help in that.
Yeah, great idea. Great idea.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Members, any further questions for Ms. Young? Thank you so much for being here. Madam Clerk, do we have any other in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you, and I'll proceed with remote testifiers. I believe I see Mr. Sakamoto and Ms. Angela Melody Young. We can proceed, Mr. Sakamoto.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Donald Sakamoto, longtime county resident, in support of Bill 34 with amendments by my council member, Esther Cayena. It's about time. I have relatives and neighbors that have not know about this, and I strongly support this bill. We need to go for broke, move this bill forward, not later. It's very needed. And for Ms. Young, I think by getting outreach, you should come to the neighborhood boards, all of them, and let them know, have them come out and do a presentation about this, where they're going to have these events, as well as council members put in the email blast to the community in the email blast. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Members, if we have any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, we'll now proceed with Angela Young.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about neighborhood board yet. I'm still processing. There's been a lot of drama. Okay, let me read my notes, because if I don't read my notes, if I don't read my script, I'm going to forget everything I'm going to say. I'm just going to go blank. Okay, so I think there should be an assessment about what is the threshold of the lowest value properties and the highest value properties, right? So for example, like I said before, in California, a 4% tax applies to property sales between 5.3 million and 10.6 million, and a 5.5 tax is the threshold of higher taxes for property sales above and beyond 10.6 million. So, and you don't have to, believe everything I say. You can do your own research. But I think having a pig and then hearing from the market, hearing from the community, having a facilitation in a community dialogue to transform the tax structures, of which influences these thresholds from the bottom level of the lowest value properties to the highest value properties, then you can hear from all sides of the community. So, and then you can have like an understanding of the tiers and what kind of people.
Thank you, Angela.
Okay,
members, if we have any questions for the testifier? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any other remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Seeing no further testimony, members, we are in discussion. Council Vice Chair Tupola.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to speak in support of this measure. I'm grateful that we're putting in the TVU tiers, because when we did talk about this, places like Ku'ilima West and East, which is in Turtle Bay, all of their TVUs that are legally registered, that are operating under the guidelines of DPP, they have little tiny ones. They're not expensive, they're not luxury homes that they're doing. And so when we had set that rate at that $11, it was a huge jump for a lot of them. So I think this is fair, because again, we want to penalize people who are breaking the law and incentivize people who are keeping the law, which I think the 3-tier system is going to work out, especially for those in those classes, which mainly it's Councilmember Waters, District Mine, and Councilmember Wires. That's kind of where all of the vacation rentals TVUs are located. So I'm glad to see that. And secondly, I do think that with the valuations going up, and we've talked about, how burdensome this has been for people overnight. something that people have been surprised by because evaluations are not something that we announce or that they announce. And to Councilmember Waters' point, you know, Chair Waters makes a point that like the cost of living is affected by many choices that we make. And if we can make choices like this that advantage local families, then we're doing the right thing. So I'm grateful for this bill and I'm in support.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tupola. Members, any further discussion? Okay. Okay, seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 34, 2024 be amended to the posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0639/8/8/2025 at 1:56 p.m. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Seeing none, the bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 34, 2024 CD1 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so order. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 9, Bill 54, 2025, updating and amending certain sections of Chapter 15B revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021 as they pertain to the fare structure of Oahu's multimodal municipal transportation system. Members, we do have a proposed. With us today, we have Deputy Director of our Department of Transportation Services. Oh, we do, sorry. Let me back up, members. We do have a proposed posted CD1 OCS 2025-0640-8/8/12/2025 at 12:31 p.m. submitted by myself. For your information, the amendments are listed on the agenda. And with us again today, we do have Deputy Director of our Department of Transportation Services, John Nouchi.
Aloha Chair, Committee, John Nouchi, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation Services. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in support of Bill 54 relating to transit fares. In response to our current annual bus operating deficit, I guess you could say, of approximately $280 million, the city has introduced Bill 54 to raise fares for the bus and Skyline for the first time since July of 2022. Passenger fares currently cover about 15% of the total the bus O&M expenses. The City Council adopted a policy all the way back in the year 2000 and updated in 2019 to land that fares should cover at least 25% of the bus's O&M expenses. While Honolulu's fare recovery ratio is significantly higher than many systems on the continent, we are still far below that bar set by resolution at the council. The fare changes were reviewed and approved by the Rate Commission, a volunteer body appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the City Council. The Rate Commission reviewed the bill for more than a year and voted to support the current proposal. The committee held special 3 public hearings on the proposal in different areas on the island and had many open discussions at commission meetings. There was considerable media coverage of the hearings, and I'd also like to point out that we do have the Rate Commission Chair, Dre Khalili, here too, in case there are any questions. The adjustments, ranging from a 25-cent increase for cash single-ride fares to incremental hikes in holocard passes and caps, are expected to generate about $2 million in added revenue, offering essential support to transit finances. To maximize savings, local residents are advised to obtain a holocard. Most of the single ride, or what we call a 2-hour pass now, those rates are not affected by this, this bill relating to fares. Single ride fares for those with holocards will not increase. Although some fares remain unchanged, the overall increase is about 4.1% compared to an overall increase in the CPI of nearly 9% since 2022. So at this point, we're just trying to kind of keep up with our costs and be responsible in that sense. The ordinance change simplifies the overall fare structure, and we previously have a very complicated fare structure. by reducing the number of fare categories from 10 to 3. The ordinance change specifies that deeply discounted bus and rail annual fares for special groups, including kupuna, people with disabilities, handy van users who also use the bus, people with low incomes, and people eligible for Medicare, are restricted to Hawaii residents only. So we would see that benefit for our in-state residents. Fares for this group will rise to $50 per year and represent a 95% discount over full adult fares. Over 35,000 Hawaii residents took over 11 million deeply discounted rides in the last fiscal year. Although fare increases have been on hold since mid-2022, the service levels and costs have nonetheless grown, as everything else. Over the past 2 years, the bus expanded our route network, vehicle fleet, and hours of service. And we also launched Skyline in 2023 and are set to open another 5 miles and 4 stations of Skyline this October. And in addition to Skyline, I know that kind of takes up a lot of space. We are actually significantly improving the rest of our bus connection network to Skyline. We plan to introduce our A line to UH Manoa, W line to Waikiki, and U line, which is express to UH Manoa, to provide that fast, frequent, and direct service to downtown Ala Moana, Waikiki, and UH Manoa.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Members, do we have any questions for the Deputy Director? Council Vice Chair Tupola.
Aloha, Deputy. In regards to the communication that was sent, does this CD that's being proposed resolve the Medicare issue?
Yes, I believe the Medicare issue should have been restored back to the table. And I believe we are moving forward with the restriction of personal care attendants on board regular transit, but still allowed on handy van, consistent with federal law.
Okay, perfect. For those who might need to know, Department Communications 639, they had a few things, but I do believe it's all resolved. So thank you, Chair.
So we'll just to clarify, we will have a CD2 prior to address the Medicare concerns that were brought up. They're not currently in the CD1, but we will address them in the next amended version.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question. Members, any further questions for the Deputy Director? Deputy Director, if it's okay, I would like to hear just quickly from our Rate Commission Chair, Kalili. I think it's helpful for us to, if she doesn't mind sharing the process that you go through to get to where we are today, because I know sometimes in the public's perception, a lot of times they're looking at us as how this came about. So if you don't mind just stating your name for the record and explaining a summary of what you guys do on the commission and how we got to where we are today.
Sure, happy to. I'm Dre Kalili. I'm the chair of the Honolulu Rate Commission. And the Rate Commission is tasked by the charter to evaluate and review fares and fees that are charged for the city's transit and multimodal system. And so we initiated that review in November, and we reviewed both recommendations that came from the Department of Transportation Services as well as some other areas for discussion that were raised by members of the commission. And from November through January, we had monthly meetings where we held open forum discussions of each matter, and we took public testimony to understand where the public would be on the various policy proposals. And in February, that deliberation culminated with actually 4 public meetings where we collected more testimony. So over the course of the number of months, we collected more than 100 pieces of testimony. In general, I think we found that there is a broad opposition to fare increases, but at the same time, in many of the same testimonies, we found that members of the public are urging that service levels don't decrease and that there's a need for improvement. We can't have both. We can't maintain the level of service and not somehow increase the fare. So for the Rate Commission, it was important that we balance all of that. And in addition, we also, the key takeaway for the Rate Commission is that there are a number of members who are of the public submitting testimony who don't really understand the very heavily discounted fare programs that are available to them. And so I think that raised a flag for us to maybe look into how we can address some of the barriers to accessing those discounted fares. And in addition, we were really, as Deputy Director Nouchi explained, we are interested in simplifying the structure. I mean, if you look maybe 5 and 6 years ago, if you looked at the fare structure, there were like 6 or 7 different prices. And so now it's a standard adult fare, and then they're half fare for either youth or, other reduced fares. And so I think that helps users understand, what they are paying for. But to that, I think the adoption of the Holo card and the benefits that come with using it are not as well understood as they need to be. And with the fare caps and some of the other benefits that come with using the Holo card, the rate commission focused on the fare increases at the capped level, not on the single ride level. And in coming up with that fare recommendation and making sure that, we could easily and very well justify it, we looked at like 3 different rider personas, right? A casual rider who maybe is riding 10 times a month, a commuter who is doing 20 round trips, and a very heavy transit user, which is doing 20 round trips, plus like there's at least 10 days where there's like 3 single ride trips. So, and we calculated what that benefit to each of those rider types would be. And then we calculated that against if we were increasing just a single ride fare, like what the impact is. And I think this was how we struck that balance of increasing the fare, but also making sure we're minimizing the impact. And so that is reflected in the bill that's before you. And I think like the last thing that I'd want to leave with you is really to reemphasize the public outreach and effort that was done to even get to this bill. So it was at 4 public meetings, 3 rate commission meetings, and again, about 100 pieces of testimony. And I'm available for any additional questions.
Thank you so much. Members, if we have any questions for Rate Commission Chair Kalili. I really appreciate you coming and explaining that, and thank you for, I did see the initial, to go from the initial to where we were, to where we are now, and having that more streamlined is more palatable and I think helpful for not just us, but also our riders and the ridership of our bus and Skyline. So thank you for doing that. And it's not an easy position that you're in, but we understand. I appreciate you explaining, again, the process of how we got to where we are today. Thank you. Okay, seeing no further discussion at this time, we'll now proceed with in-person testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing no in-person testifiers, we'll now proceed with remote testifiers. Do we have any registered remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, Donald Sakamoto and Angela Young.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Donald Sakamoto.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Donald Sakamoto, longtime public transportation person, advocate for people with disabilities in Cabona who ride the service of our public bus and handy van and Skyline. Regarding Bill 54, I support it, gradually increase for the bus and handy van to 25 cents. But my concern is for the low subsidy for people applying for bus and handy van with the Department of Community Services, simply to say go on the online and fill out the form, or those of them don't have computer service or internet, and then those who don't speak good English or don't understand how to fill the form. There needs to be more emphasis to help these people who cannot fill up the form. Example, when you go to OHA or Hawaiian Affairs and try to apply for homestead land, and you don't do the application right, and you take it to them, and they say, you got to do it all over again. And when they come back again, and then they just give up, the people give up. So more emphasis on that. Regarding the handy van payment that's on the bill, it says pay with cash, coupon, and electronic card. In the handbook of the handy van rider's guide, it says tickets. And we've, at Citizens for a Fair Ready Ride, in 2013, when they changed the tickets to have expiration date, we said to change it from coupons to tickets, and that's what they did. So I would like to see that happen. And then also for the handy van riders, they expressed that they have some concerns about the procurement of vehicles. I brought this to the Santos-Tam Councilmember, and to have all fees increase why not get better paratransit handy vans? The Ford Transit with rear lift and unbelievable stairs is very dangerous. And they are working to get better vehicles that are accessible under the ADA, but this is another concern. And finally, to put money, to have a $25 surcharge for people to use cash on the bus instead of using the HOLO, forcing people to use HOLO. Not many people can put a certain amount of money on a HOLO card and it's all tied up and they want to use it for buying food or whatever at the store. You can't use a HOLO card. The reason why is the director told us, Martin, is because it costs $5,000 a year to count these monies on the bus. But they're still taking cash for handy vans, so they still have to count the cash. So I'm against the 25 cents increase if this is the bill, because it was brought up at the rate commission, Honolulu Rate Commission, and member James Burke said he was against it, but other members of the commission voted for it. So that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Members, if we have any questions for the testifier. Okay, seeing none, we'll now proceed with Angela Young.
Hello. Angela Young testifying to comment. Wishing to comment. So it's interesting to hear about the rate commission's process going out. And yeah, so it sounds like there was a good facilitation in the community and then good results happen with feedback. So when you don't facilitate the dialogue, I think that's when you're going to have bad results, right? So yeah, this is like an easy topic for facilitation. There's no competing market or market at all. It's just the bus and then the people groups and the demographics that will be affected by like the higher rates, like Kapuna students. And yeah, so it's been interesting to hear about this process. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. Members, if we have any questions for the testifier. Seeing no further questions, Madam Clerk, do we have any other registered or non-registered remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing none, members, we are in discussion. If it's okay, members, I would like to have Deputy Director Noichi come up. I know that Mr. Sakamoto had some questions and statements of concern. So, Deputy, if you don't mind addressing, on my records, I have difficulty of applying ESL applicants as well as the coupons to tickets that don't expire, handy van procurement, and then the surcharges or the fees of using the HOLO card. I think those are some of the things that he had concerns. If you don't mind addressing some of his questions.
Sure. Thank you again, John Nouchi, Deputy Director, DTS. Let's see, where should I start? I'm sorry, can you give me that list again?
No, yeah, no problem. So what I did note, some of the concerns that were brought up was those who have difficulty applying online, including but not exclusive to those who have English as a second language.
Sure. You know, I will be the first to say that we can always do better in terms of community outreach, English as a second language, people who aren't proficient in English, limited English proficiency, that we probably can exercise some partnerships that we already have with members in our community for different culture or ethnic groups to make sure that everybody has access and the ability to sign on with some of these programs. Secondly, in terms of the ticket versus coupon question, I think we're trying to just clear up a lot of nomenclature issues with this bill also. And thirdly, regarding, we like to think of it as a non-fare increase for HOLO users rather than a cash surcharge. But I would like to clear up what Mr. Sakamoto testified. It doesn't take $4,000 to handle cash on board our transit system. It actually costs $4 million. And so the cost is quite significant for us to continue to handle cash. And I'd like to point towards a near future item. We're aiming to, within a calendar year from now, to actually allow people to use debit and credit cards on board our HOLO system, which we refer to as open payment. So it might resolve some of Mr. Sakamoto's concerns about people having to place money in a HOLO account where they can just use either a prepaid credit or a debit card to actually access transit. and all the benefits of HOLO will still travel with the customer via the use of that same card.
Thank you. I'm thankful that you clarified and thankful that you guys have met with me prior to this meeting. And you stated again, for the record, $4 million to manage the cash operations.
Yeah, $4 million to manage just the collection of cash. And if you think about it, say we have about 480 or so vehicles and 200 or so handy vans. All of those coming in, the money needs to come out. It needs to be kept safe, secure. So we vault them, then we count all that cash, and then we have that deposited via armored car into our bank accounts and things like that. So there is a real cost, a real human cost to actually manage and keep that process very secure. So with HOLO, everything is digital and we can manage our revenues that way. But the physical cost of just going out to each vehicle, touching every vehicle at the end of every service day is pretty immense for a diminishing level of customers, passengers who do opt to use cash.
Thank you. And so you are providing options, though, it sounds like, because for those who maybe have more difficulty with the HOLO cards, we are not going to use debit or credit. That's what the goal is. But we are not getting or eliminating cash.
No,
cash services or transactions at this time.
Yes, Chair, that is a very good point to make. Maybe I should have said that first. Thank you for pointing that out. We are not at this time eliminating people's ability to use cash on board transit.
Okay, thank you. Members, if we have any further questions, Councilmember Santos-Tam.
Thank you, Chair. As somebody that uses the bus every day and actually multiple times a day, I'm very, very sensitive to what goes on with ridership and the fares, and especially, those that this might impact. I appreciate the notion that this is not an increase. I think the quote was, "This not an increase, but rather a cash surcharge," and I think that that's true with regard to the single riders. But I am concerned about going from $880 a year to $990 a year for a full annual pass rider. And similarly, $440 to $495 for youth. And I think that that's something we need to be very mindful of. I'll make some comments about that later. I do want to ask about two specific things. First, in the bill, there's a special fare to H&L that's being proposed. How would that impact people that work at the airport who have to go there every day? How would you implement that?
We look at, I think that flexibility is in there. But we believe that the mechanics of it, or the programming of that, would actually help people cap out sooner.
Okay. And then I want to dig into the fare box recovery ratio policy that we have. I understand that the current policy is somewhere between 25 and 30%. Are we meeting that?
We are far short of that. The last time we were close to meeting that, or we were within that range, was in 2019. And that was definitely, it doesn't seem that long, but 6 years ago, pre-COVID. Right now, we kind of have hovered in between maybe 11 to 14%. That is of concern to us. But that being said, I think we have been in good touch with our transit peers and partners nationwide, and many of them are enduring a fiscal cliff and a crisis in terms of even keeping a far diminished level of service available for their constituents. So we're not there. However, we would be open to working with the council to maybe reestablish a resolution that does make sense now in our new system that is going to have a more activated skyline and more services on the bus and handy van side.
Well, let me ask this just point blank. Is the fare box recovery ratio policy useful in any way, shape, or form? Does it help to dictate how you roll out policies? If we were to get rid of it tomorrow, would that change anything you guys do?
I think the fare box recovery ratio is a good North Star for the sustainability of our system, but if it's okay, I'd like to defer to our Rate Commission Chair, Dre Khalili.
Thank you. As part of our review last year, we actually recommended that the council eliminate the fare box recovery ratio. We found, as we did some research and review of what's happening in other transit systems across the country, it's an antiquated policy, and it actually forces decision makers to make poor decisions that have a disproportionate effect on transit riders. So I think in favor of some other pressing needs that maybe hasn't surfaced to the council at this time, but please know that it is the position of the rate commission that the fare box recovery ratio should be eliminated.
Thank you. And I'll note that places like Baltimore, a lot of cities in California, Chicago, they're all moving this direction. And I think it's worthwhile for us to have that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam. Members, do we have any further questions at this time for Deputy Director or Rate Commission Chair Khalili? Okay, seeing no further, thank you very much. Members, we are in any further discussion, questions? Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam.
Thank you, Chair. Again, as somebody that uses the bus every day to get around on this island, I have pretty strong concerns about the proposal to take the annual fare from $880 to $990. Earlier in this meeting, I think everybody was patting themselves in the back on what we're going to be doing for property tax. And the bill, one of the bills would lower the property taxes paid by a household for $70. And I think everybody was very excited about doing that. And yet, in this proposal, we are contemplating increasing people's transportation costs by $110, not just per household, but per bus rider, per worker who has to get around on this island. And for a youth, increasing that by a similar amount, $55. So for a household, you know, this could be hundreds of dollars of cost to them. And so I think, again, in our goal of using property tax as a tool, I think we have to be mindful of using our other policies as tools to reduce the cost of living meaningfully. So I think that this is something that we need to look at. There's other elements of this bill that I think are positive. I do think we need to get rid of the fare box revenue, which I'd like to take up later this year. But again, we need to be very mindful of these things. In addition to property tax, there's so many other tools that we can use to lower the cost of living for folks who really need the help, including through all the other fees that the city charges, you know, water, our sewer, for example, with the CARES program. There's a number of ways that we can reduce the cost of living for people, but this is going to increase by $110 per person. I hope everybody keeps that in mind.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos-Tam. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. In support, and I thank Deputy Director as well as our Rate Commission Chair for your hard work. I think from the very beginning, back when I first got in, I remember we'd had all these discussions and we deferred everything. We said it's a tough time. We just got out of COVID. We can't be raising the rates. And but we did say in a future date, we're going to have to in order to make this sustainable. And I think that's something that as you know, council members, we have to be mindful of, is that we can't propose things that are unsustainable. And in this realm of transportation, we don't want to provide subpar transportation. We want it to be, you know, adequate and of course safe for those who ride it. So the only thing that I'm going to be looking for is the new CD2, because back when we were talking about this in 2021, somehow the Medicare cardholders got left out, and then we had to fight to put it back in. So I just want to make sure that that stays in there. We don't want to leave out this population that really needs our help. But thank you for giving us all the insight, especially on the testifiers, that you guys had adequate public testimony, that you guys actually discussed this, because it's tough. I mean, I would say the majority of the people in my district ride bus. So this is a tough conversation to have, because people are on the bus all day. And of course, during emergencies, they're on the bus all night too. And so I think that in order for us to move forward, we have to find a middle ground, and I think this bill is doing that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Council Vice Chair Tupola. Any further discussion at this time? I want to also, again, mahalo to Deputy Director and Rate Commission Chair for being here. And I appreciate the comments that were stated. I think, you know, we as a body have been working hard, at least since I've been in this position, to really address the cost of our residents. And I feel that what was stated earlier by the Rate Commissioner is what I want to remember, that while we are making policy, I think to promise everything and not be able to perform is a challenge for us. And while our residents want improved services, we can't continue to provide it if if we can't afford it. So this is a highly subsidized program. I understand that it's necessary, but any way that, you know, we can support what the rate commission has done in the efforts that they've done to get to the point that we are, understanding that it's going to increase rates, but we want to not cut services. And so with that in mind, it's like Councilmember Tupola mentioned, finding that balance and that middle ground. So hopefully moving forward, we can continue to do so with that mindset of being educated on the whole process. And Councilmember Tupola, we will be, again, putting that back in a CD2, either in full council or before the next committee hearing. But thank you for, again, advocating for that. Okay, seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 54, 2025 be amended to the proposed CD1 identified as OCS 2025/0640/8/12/2025 at 12:31 p.m. Any further discussion? Any objections or reservations? Seeing none, the bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 54, 2025, CD1 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to the last item on our agenda today, agenda item number 10, Bill 62, 2024, amending the city's fees for motor vehicle registration. Members, we have a proposed posted CD1 OCS 2025-0589/7/16/2025 at 2:55 p.m. submitted by Councilmember Tupola. For your information, the amendments are listed on the agenda. And at this time, Councilmember Tupola, would you like to share any discussion or have any discussion on your measure?
Sure. Just first off, thank you to Councilmember Tolba. You know, he has been an advocate for veterans, as was noted last week when we did the Purple Heart ceremony for all of the city. But specifically, the CD is just saying that it's for those who were not discharged dishonorably. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. From the administration, I believe we have with us our Director of Department of Customer Services, Director Kimberly Hashiro. Good morning, Director Hashiro.
Hi, good morning, Budget Chair, Vice Chair Nishimoto, members. Kim Hashiro, Director, Department of Customer Services. So we did submit written testimony, and we do definitely appreciate and acknowledge Councilmember Tupola and Tobo's initiatives regarding honoring veterans. We just wanted to provide comment regarding the financial impact of this proposal. We're estimating that approximately 46,000 veterans age 65 and older are in Hawaii. And if they were to claim this exemption, it could add up to about 926,000 in reduced revenue. So that is our primary comment. I know when this was at first reading, there was also comment from the public regarding other groups that were looking to be recognized in the same way. So we just wanted to mention that. And we understand how hard Council is working to generate revenue, maintain revenue, and that's our only comment regarding the impact of this proposal.
Thank you, Director. Members, if we have any questions, Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. Aloha, Director. Thanks for all you do. We appreciate the DMV and all the wonderful customer service you guys give. Real quick, on the second page of your memo, you said specifically there are 46,326 veterans age 65 and older in Hawaii. Are you referring to the whole entire state?
Yes.
Okay, so when I looked up on the Veterans Data Central, I think we only have 29,000 on this island that are over 65. Where were you pulling your data from? Also Veterans Data Central?
I'm not sure where our team got this data from, but I know the initial 64% of veterans and 55 was from the U.S. Census data. So I can find out for you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, I think what the point I'm trying to make is when I was parsing out the data, we do have about 12,947 veterans that are 65 and older on our island, so 12,000. We do not know how many of those actually drive, right? So
Correct.
we're assuming that they might get a vehicle registration, but we don't know that. And then there's about 16,000 that are over 75, which they may not be driving either. So I think for the 65 to 74 category, we should be around 12,000. So how did you calculate the 926, 520? Did you multiply the 46,326 by $20?
Yes.
Okay, so I think reasonably, just because we don't know the facts specifically, I would assume that we're really talking about 12,000 and not 46,000, because those probably like of the driving age. But we do not know if all of them actually pull registration, or if they catch public transit, or if they catch ride with family members, or if they use the handy van. So I see this number is below $1 million, seeing as though this I think what we're looking at is 12,000, which is roughly around 1/4 of what you put on this memo. I would assume that this would be more like 250,000 annually, but these are all assumptions because I know we're both using data that we're pulling from various sources. So I just wanted to make that clear for the committee that specifically if we're talking about veterans and if we're talking about those who drive and who are on the island of Oahu, we might be talking about a deficit of 250,000 and not close to $1 million. But I do appreciate you outlining this out, as it's clear with what Director wrote down, that there are state taxes and then there of course are county taxes, and that our veterans are actually paying $20. So it's nominal what they are paying. So thank you very much, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Councilmember āina.
Thank you. Thank you, Director, for your council communication. I appreciate you trying to contextualize what the potential impact could be, but also talking about HRS Section 249-6.5. Can you elaborate? Do current service members, are they exempt from car registration? And you say here they're exempt from the vehicle weight tax, and you list on your second page, I'm sorry, on the third page, all of these other things. Are they current, what are they in totality are current armed force members exempt from?
So active duty are currently exempt from county weight tax, state registration fees, highway beautification, and if they have an EV, the EV vehicle fee, those are waived.
Do they pay the Honolulu registration fee?
Yes. I believe they pay that.
Okay, but they are waived from the annual state registration fee?
Mm-hmm. And the weight tax.
Well, I gotta tell you, that just seems so unfair to local families. We're all struggling. I mean, they get subsidized for their rent, even if they could live on the base. And I think if you did a survey of retirees who, not just retirees, but military who live here and retirees, a majority of them are able to own homes when local families are unable to own homes. So it just concerns me that we're giving all of this to active military and not to local families. With regard to this proposal, I stated before, while I am empathetic, I do care about the fairness of it and whether it should apply to all that are 65 years and older. Given your comments on the cost, I would assume that you would not be in favor of expanding this to everybody who is 65 or older, or maybe 70 and older. I just pulled up some data. It said that for Honolulu, it'd be about 20% of the residents are 65 or older. So that would be a little over 200,000. I don't know, were you at the mayor's Kaneohe Town Hall meeting?
No.
Okay, well, let me just remind you what occurred there. Somebody raised this issue for 65 or just seniors, and I stood up to help the mayor's team answer the question and say that there is a measure pending that's narrowly tailored to 65 or older, but the thought of broadening it is appealing because then people can understand the fairness of it, because others, non-veterans who are 65 or older, would also want to benefit. And the mayor is on record, on Alelo, saying that if this, if such a measure ever reached his desk, he would sign it into law. So I just wanted to let you know that transpired at the Kaneohe Town Hall meeting. So I need to let you know I am interested in expanding this.
Okay.
And I think the question, because I know it's all about cost, is what would be the cutoff age? So that's all. I just wanted to tell my colleagues that as well, because I do believe in the issue of fairness, considering the fact that all armed services folks get all of these benefits when locals do not. I just feel that we're giving a lot away. And those who are 65 or older, who are non-veterans, deserve this break as well. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember āina. Members, any further discussion or questions?
Budget Chair, if
Yes,
it would
please,
help
Director.
Council, we could provide additional data to break down further this group that potentially could be impacted, because that's what I'm seeing might be helpful. It would take us a little bit to work with DIT and pull that, but we could. And what I would suggest is we can send, I guess, an email or something to clarify what categories and what the breakdown we're looking at. And then if that is helpful, we can ask DIT to run that for us.
Thank you, Director. Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, because I think we're getting close to the correct number, but I don't know how far we are from that. So if you could pull data about how many veterans who are 65 and older that have pulled licenses within the last couple of years, so we can get a roundabout figure. I do think it's around 12,000, but I don't know. And then that would be substantially less. I will say that, and I know you guys probably can't pull this out, but I have constituents in my community that are veterans, and they're local, and they're Hawaiian. So I think it also does benefit locals, because not all veterans are from from outside of Hawaii. But I hear what Councilmember āina is saying about the benefit that military families already get. But there are many, I think in my district, many local families that are older that need this. But with that being said, could you please also pull data for 65 and older, 75 and older in general? In the general category, then at least we can make a better decision on maybe a CD for this bill or how we proceed forward. Because again, I think we know already that most of our kupuna, if not all, are on fixed income. So we know already that this is something that we need to discuss, whether or not it affects your department, but we want to find the middle ground, similar to what we did with DTS, something that's not going to break the bank for you guys or severely affect your operations, but still take into consideration this population. Is that okay, Director?
Yes, we'll look at that, and we'll let you know what we can pull based on the system data and criteria.
Thank you very much. That'd be great. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Councilmember āina, you had your question? Okay, stated. Members, any further discussion or questions for the Director? Okay. Seeing no further questions for Director Hashiro, we'll now proceed with in-person testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered in-person testifiers or non-registered?
We have Angela.
Good morning, Angela.
Aloha, Angela Young testifying on behalf of CARES. In strong support, thank you to the Council for your support of veterans and the armed forces. So, as these conversations and discussions of property tax drags on, and the committee floor discussions have been very exciting, and we have new topics now influencing income and cash flow. So the bus and now the DMV registration fees will be amended. So I think the council can really consider and ask higher rates for public transportation or higher rates for purchasing a vehicle. Like, who can afford a Tesla or car versus who can afford to ride the bus, and kind of adjust the assessment of the cash flow income into the city spending budget would be a really good idea. And I think people utilizing a vehicle to get around is going to be a higher income people group than public transportation people groups, right? People getting a Tesla can afford a higher fee, but I'm just kind of making things up about these thresholds at this point and doing guesswork. So
thank you, Angela.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any other in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing no further in person, we'll now proceed with remote testifiers. Do we have any registered or non-registered remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Chair, for listing this bill, and I look forward to the data from Director and working on a way for us to move forward with possible suggestions that were given today, and I do believe we have one more committee hearing, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Councilmember Toba.
I echo Councilmember Tupola, and thank you. If we can move this forward, also thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 62, 2024 be amended to the posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0589/7/16/2025 at 2:55 p.m. Any discussion, any objections or reservations? The bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 62, 2024 CD1 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. There being no further business, at this time, this meeting is adjourned.